Hello and welcome you all in YouTube channel of TMPS Group of Schools. Today in our history class we are going to learn about the Indus Valley Civilization, which is also known as Harappan Civilization. So before going towards the chapter, let us discuss what is a term civilization means. Look, what is a term civilization means? Actually, the word civilization, which originated from the word civis, that is the Latin word civis. It is a Latin word. This means the people or someone who resides in a town. Someone who resides in a town with a civilized manner, having the customs of the education, the intellectual, the architecture, and achievement, and the type of government which can rule in a particular place. By belonging all these features, then we can assume that a kind of people who are living in a place are civilized in terms of various factors which I have taught you. Next, the civis, which belongs to Latin word, and this means someone who resides in a town. Most probably it was the very first civilization which interpret the various features to be civilized. Yes, of course, the type of government were there, the educational systems were there, the rituals and some religion, the architectures that make this civilization as a civilized. In this class, in today's class, we are only going to give the introduction of this civilization. Then I am going to draw a flow chart and one by one we will discuss on it. Its origination or the discovery or its origin. We can say its origin or we can say also its discovery. Few personalities and the architectures, also some of the archaeological department, the people who belongs to archaeological department during that time, and some English explorers plays a valuable role to find out some sites or the places that will be assumed as a kind of civilization would be there. So the very first name of that personality is Charles Mason. Charles Mason, who was the very first person and who was the English explorer in 1826, in the year of 1826 CE, he provided the very first information in Pakistan. He has given that maybe possible, he assumed that there was a civilization. Maybe there was a civilization in Pakistan, and he provided as it is the very first information in that particular area in year 1826 CE. And he also provided much more information in his book or magazine, that is the Narrative of Journeys. He wrote a book, a magazine, that is Narrative of Journeys, written by him. It is a magazine which provided much more information about that sites in Pakistan, that there would be a possibility that there would be a civilization who existed there in a previous year of time. The second name belongs to, or the explorer who explored the sites of that one, that is Burton brothers. Burton brothers, the two brothers were there, and namely the two brothers named in James and Williams. The first is James and William. These were the two brothers. In year 1856, the incident took place that the railway line was constructed between Lahore and Karachi in Pakistan. During that constructional site, or that period of time in 1856, while constructing the railway tracks, they have founded the bricks. They have founded the bricks and they used that bricks for the construction of railway track in year 1856. So in between the two places, the Lahore and Karachi, which belongs to Pakistan, railway track was going to construct, and in 1856 these two brothers, James and Williams, have founded the bricks, and they have also used that bricks in the construction of railway tracks between these two places. So what they have found, and they have also assumed that if they are getting the bricks, so it means that of course there was a kind of civilization what took place or existed there in that site in Pakistan. Okay, now the third name belongs to Alexander Cunningham. Alexander Cunningham. Between year 1853 to 1856. During that period of time, the 4 years of period, Alexander Cunningham have took the charge to research in that particular area in Pakistan, and he also founded that and assumed that yes, a kind of situation could be existed there. But the important exploration took place or discovery took place by a famous personality, John Marshall. It is very important for you, this name, the very last one, John Marshall, who appointed as the head of the archaeological department of British India. So the year 1921 it was, and in 1921 he was appointed as, John Marshall was appointed as the head of the archaeological department of British India. So under his guidance, Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahni, under his guidance, Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahni, under the guidance of Sir John Marshall in 1921, he explored the very eminent site in Indus Valley civilization, and that we have called Harappa. So actually Harappa is a city. Harappa is the very first site, or we can say very first city that have been founded by the archaeological department of British India by Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahni under the guidance of Sir John Marshall, who was the head of archaeological department of British India. So the site of Harappa explored by Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahni, and the second name come under which is Rakhal Das Banerjee. Rakhal Das Banerjee. He founded the city Mohenjo-daro. You have also seen the movie Mohenjo-daro. So these two are the very important sites, or we can say a well-planned town. Harappa by Rai Bahadur Dayaram Sahni and Rakhal Das Banerjee founded the site, the very well-established town, that is Mohenjo-daro. So these were some points related to its origination, the origination of Indus Valley civilization, or we can say these are the points to be discovered in that period of time. Now, the second point to be computed for this Indus Valley civilization is the time period or age of the civilization. Means during which time this civilization was existed. So we have some points, and the different historians who given some points related to or some dates or duration of that interval of time that civilization would be existed, and the duration or age, we can say the time period of civilization also. Its time period is totally dependent on the archaeological sources we are getting. The archaeological sites and the archaeological sources through which we are able to give, and the various historians who are able to give that what were the time period of this civilization. So the very first time duration is given by Sir John Marshall itself. John Marshall, who was the head of the archaeological department of British India, and he assumed or given that this time period would be 325 BC, between 3250 BC to 2750 BC. This is the time duration given by Sir John Marshall. Then the second time duration is given by D.P. Agrawal. D.P. Agrawal. He assumed that during that period of time, about 22,300 BC till 1750 BC, and he used the carbon 14 technique, C14 technique. Actually, by using the isotopes of carbon, this survey, or we can say this technique, could be used to find out or to determine the age of the remains, the archaeological sites we are getting, or archaeological sources we are getting by using C14 technique. By using the isotope of carbon, we can determine the age of that archaeological remains. So that could be very beneficial to us, that we are getting much more knowledge and the conceptions will be very correct. So 2300 BC to 1750 BC, it is the time period which is given by D.P. Agrawal by using this technique, C14 carbon technique. Now, but in today's, finally, what was assumed? What was the time period of that one? It was assumed that the consideration about 2500 BC till 1700 BC is the time period of that civilization. So look, the various historians have provided the various time period or the duration for this civilization. In your NCERT, that the time period is given 2500 BC to 1800 BC, but most probably most of the historians have considered this time interval will be much better when we are getting the knowledge for the Indus Valley civilization. So we can assume that time period which is presently now, finally we are getting that. So that is the time period. Now the third is the naming of that civilization. How we are giving the name of that one, and how many different names to be used by explaining of this Indus Valley civilization. The very first name is itself Indus Valley civilization, because Indus is a river that is also known as Sindhu. In Hindi, we can use the name Sindhu. In English, that is Indus. And valley is the bank of the river Sindhu. So a kind of civilization which flourished between 2500 BC till 1700 BC near the bank of river valley, near the bank of river Indus, river Sindhu. So that civilization undergoes as the Indus Valley civilization. Now the second name which was given also, the Indus Saraswati civilization. Look, what would be the name? Indus Saraswati civilization. Look, why it is called so Indus? Because also the sites which we are getting, the archaeological sites, they are existed in the bank of Indus, as well as some places are also there in Haryana of India, Haryana in India, and they we are getting from near the Saraswati river also. So this civilization is known as Indus Saraswati civilization. Or we can say that between Indus and Saraswati river, the various sites of this civilization to be existed. That is why it's known as Indus Valley civilization, Indus Saraswati civilization. Now the third is the Harappan civilization. It is also known as Harappan civilization. Why it is called so? Because Harappa is the very first site that was founded by the archaeological department of British India. So that is why this civilization also known as Harappan civilization. Is it clear, everyone? I think. Now, the fourth one point to be included in this class is the origin, means from which civilization, from what other civilization it is interconnected. So some foreign historians assumed that this civilization interconnected to the Sumerian civilization. Sumerian, that is the Mesopotamian civilization, and this followed out, or this could be assumed by the foreign historians, in which some names are John Marshall, Wheeler, Gardner Child, and D.D. Kaushambi. So these are some foreign historians who assumed that this Indus Valley civilization would be interconnected with the Sumerian. But our domestic historians, or we have the domestic views also, that assume that this civilization belongs to Dravidian civilization. Dravidian civilization could be assumed by Rakhal Das Banerjee. Means the civilization, Indus Valley civilization, would be related to the Dravidian civilization. But some other domestic historians also there who tends to know that this civilization, this Indus Valley civilization, belongs to Aryans, and some of them, that is T.N. Ramchandra, who said that this civilization belongs to Aryans. Also, Lakshman Swarup Pushalkar. Okay, so these are some basic knowledge or the introduction of Indus Valley civilization. Probably it will be the very first part of that chapter, and we will be going to know some more about this civilization, including its features, okay, the town planning we are dealing with, and the other monuments we are getting, the archaeological sites we are getting. So basically I will divide this chapter into the three parts. We are getting the introduction of that chapter. The second would be remains to the sites. There are more about 250 sites to be there. Then we will going to discuss it also. And the third class will be depend on the various features of this civilization. So that is all about today's session. Till then, take care and bye bye.